I don't know about you, but I get like 19 scam phone calls or emails or things like that every single day.
Ma'am, don't speak. Now type down there. Cancel. Cancel. Cancel.
Okay, you want me to cancel?
Cancel. You think you're very smart, right? Ma'am, write down the name of your favorite teacher. Write down the name of your favorite teacher.
And I'm here to tell you that if you are a business owner, you are likely going to be targeted by various scammers. And I want to give you some tips and tricks of things to avoid so your money stays in your pocket and doesn't go to a scammer. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today's episode, we are going to be talking about scams that you should be aware of so you can make sure you avoid them as a cheer gym owner. Now, before we get into the episode, please head on over to Cheer Gym Owners and All-Star Cheer Coaches and Owners on Facebook so you can join in on all of the conversations that are happening in those groups. And if you're looking to join the Next Generation Gym Owners Academy, learning directly from me or my coaches, you've got to head on over to nextgenowners.com where you can learn more about how you can join. Or check out one of our in-person events like the Cheer Biz Accelerators or our Summer Next Gen Conference, all available at nextgenowners.com. All right, everyone, let's get into the episode. So the reason this came up is one of my coaching clients who I'm not going to name. She was very unfortunately victimized by a scammer. I'll tell you her story without telling you exactly any like giveaway details, but what happened to her could happen to anyone. It was a sophisticated scam, and how they got her information, I think the breach happened somewhere else personally, but it could happen with your own email. There's a variety of ways that they gain access to stuff. And essentially what had happened was she received an email from her landlord, from the person who communicates with her all the time, that said, hey, we need to update our banking information. We changed accounts. Go here and pay your rent on this account. So she went through the process as guided by the email, and they knew her rent amount. They had the same signature line. They had all of the information. Like the email looked exactly the same. And it was a fake account. It was not actually her landlord. They had changed the email address, the email name by one letter. And this is oftentimes what they'll do to make it look very realistic. She was none the wiser to know that she shouldn't send the money to that account because everything looked on the up and up. So her rent went to the wrong location. And now she's having to work through that. And unfortunately, with a scam like that, because it's not like a credit card scam, oftentimes you won't necessarily get the money back from your bank as you would if your credit card was stolen and someone ran your credit card up. There are consumer protections where your credit card company is going to give you that money back. But in these kind of circumstances, they don't necessarily give you the money back. So these kind of scams can be really devastating, and they tend to target older people as one of their targets as scammers. And the next target they have is people like business owners, because they know we're busy and they know that we are trying to do things right. And it's more likely that they're going to get a large sum out of us, because the kind of checks you write as a business owner, you as a personal individual would be like, whoa, no way. So like, for instance, I've talked about it many times on the podcast. My rent is over $30,000 a month. So I pay $30,000 a month in rent. And although it makes me like clutch my pearls just a little bit, it's not massive. It's not crazy to me. That's what my rent is. But if I were to personally write a check for $30,000, like that's a big day. I'm having to move a lot of money around to make something like that happen. Like I don't just keep $30,000 in my checking account. That's a big deal. I'm buying a house. But as a gym owner, being like, oh, well, I'm going to pay my rent here. Yeah, that makes total sense. And so these scammers will try to take advantage of that. And it makes you a really good target for particular scams like a rent scam like that. So what are some of the scams that are out there and how can you spot them to avoid them? Well, number one is loan scams, loans that are like payday loans or lines of credit or things like that. And they're not all truly scams. I consider them scams because the deals are trash. They are absolutely horrible deals that you should say no to, but they're looking for business owners that are desperate, that are needing funds. In fact, I am wearing an earbud. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. I'm wearing an AirPod because I listen to music oftentimes while I'm recording these podcasts. And I am getting, I guarantee you, one of these scam phone calls right now to my phone. It says potential spam, and I am not going to answer it. But it is so annoying as a business owner because you have to answer those phone numbers. It's calling from a 541. That's the same area code I have. And so I'm like, well, is that a potential client? And especially with dream camps, I had two different scammy phone calls today. One called from Pennsylvania, where we have a new camp this year. So excited. And one called from Florida, where we have a camp. And I'm like, oh, I got to take these phone calls. They're potential leads. Nope, they're not. And how rude of that person, because now my music isn't playing, which is just like the ultimate jerk move. Here I am working and they messed up my music and I can't even get it started again. So let's get back into the episode. So see, someone was just trying to scam me right then. And I would be willing to bet you, I get text messages and phone calls every day of like, you're in the final stages of approval for up to $1 million. Reply and we can finalize your contract. Like, that's a scam. They have not approved me for anything. Now, why do I get so many of these? Because we started getting a line of credit when we were moving into the new business, when we were moving into the new gym. And that puts you on a call list and they sell your information. And now these scammers call you. And they're scams because of the terms. And I will tell you, I talked to a couple of them to kind of see what they had. And there was one that I went through the process, and I'll tell you the story and why this is such a scam. First off, anything that is like a gross receipts loan is a complete and total scam. I think I've talked about it before on the podcast where they will say, hey, we're going to take X per 10% of all gross receipts until the loan is paid back. So you're literally paying them daily, weekly. And the way they have those compounding interests, like you, for a $5,000 loan, you'll pay them $10,000. They're basically going to double their money on you. And that is just absolute predatory scamming behavior. They're taking advantage of gym owners and businesses that are like in a bind, like they need money to make payroll because something fell through. And so they take whatever they can get. They just take the money and then they end up paying these absurd interest rates and getting hosed. So the first one, we went through this process, and the first line of credit they offered me a $50,000 line of credit, which is exactly what I was looking for. I wanted a $50K line of credit for move-in and all of that stuff, just so I had a backup. And I wanted a line of credit that I didn't have to use any of. I could just have it there, and it was just available to me as a business. And I didn't want it to be on my personal. I didn't want to take out a HELOC or anything like that. I just wanted a line of credit. We'd been in business long enough and make enough revenue where we should easily qualify for that. Well, we, of course, were approved. They're like, oh yeah, you're approved. And actually you're approved for $100,000 line of credit. And I'm like, I mean, okay, $100,000 is better than 50. I'm interested. And I'm like, yeah, send me the contract. Well, they send me the contract. It is a $100,000 line of credit, and I'm reading the contract. It required an initial $40,000 draw. You're required to take $40,000 out against the line of credit, and you're going to pay 40% interest. I was like, I'm sorry, what? Why would I take this deal? They're like, well, that's what we're required to do by state law. No, you're not. No, you're not. That's your own policy, like nonsense. And so I very quickly was like, nope, this is trash. I don't want it. That's a horrible deal. No, thank you. And they were like, well, let's connect you with someone higher up. And I talked to this guy, and game respects game. He was a good salesperson, very good salesperson, but he did not sell me. He was like, we're going to work on this product. Here it is. We're going to get you guys qualify as your business, how successful you are. We're going to get you a $250,000 line. which is not what I wanted, but I could use for investments and other things. We're going to get you a $250,000 line. Interest rates are going to vary because we're going to stack some products. Some of them are going to be long-term loans. Some of them are going to be like credit, specifically like almost like credit cards that you can use as lines of credit. And we're going to build this package out, and we're not going to charge you anything. And we're going to, we're going to improve your credit score. And we're going to do all these things. We're going to do all this work, and we don't require any payment. Because here's the rub, right? We don't require any payment, but we will take against the loan. So it's not coming out of your pocket. We're going to take, I think they said 25%. And I was like, wait, hold on. So I'm, not the best at math here, but you're telling me that you're going to get me this, like, basically it penciled out to they were going to take $25,000 against the line of credit to pay themselves for getting me the $250,000 that I didn't even want. I'm like, no way. Like, that's literally garbage, dude. Like, no. If you said, hey, it'll cost you $1,000, I would rather pay you for your time. It'll cost you $1,000. We'll get this line of credit for you. I'd maybe consider that. But you telling me that you're going to get me a line of credit, then you're immediately going to leverage my debt to pay yourself. And just based off of the percentage that you get me, like, no way. That's like literally a trash deal. Again, a total scam. You don't need to pay that kind of money to these people. You don't need to pay that kind of money to lines of credit. Just go to a freaking bank. And if your bank says no, go to another bank. And that's what we ended up doing. We ended up going to Washington Federal, which is not everywhere, but it's a smaller bank. It has a little bit more of like a credit union style feel, but they're focused on business. And they took care of us during COVID. They got us our EIDL stuff and our PPP loans, and they were great. Literally, it was like the easiest thing ever to get a line of credit. Those things are scams because they're going to tack on crazy interest rates and crazy deals to take advantage of you in your time of need. That's why it's a scam. Number 2 scam is phishing scams. Now, this is what my client fell prey to, unfortunately, and we're going to get her through this situation, and she's going to be fine, and we're going to get her whole. Unfortunately, she didn't even talk to me about it because she didn't think anything of it. Most of us wouldn't, but they do this in a variety of ways. So anytime you get an email from a bank, from any sort of financial transaction that's like, hey, we need you to change where you're sending your checks or where you're depositing your money, or change our bank account information, or any of those things, don't believe them, and call your direct representative and confirm with them, or go directly into the bank and talk to someone there and say, hey, is this something that you actually want us to do? Because most of the time, those things are scams. Most banks, most financial institutions, most landlords, those kind of people, they're not going to email you those things. And emails are really easy to spoof. And if you're ever curious, go and look at the email, like check it, make sure that it actually matches. It's exactly the same. And even if it is, that doesn't mean that their email couldn't have been taken. Another way that they do this is like employment style. So I actually got an email from one of my Dream Camps employees that said, hey, I've changed banks. Please update this for my payroll. And I'm like, well, I don't pay this individual through payroll. He actually contracts and he has his own company. So he always sends me an invoice. So I sent him an email. I'm like, or I sent him a text message with a screenshot. And I was like, hey, I think your email got hacked. And he was like, yeah, that wasn't me. I didn't send that. And it was his email. Like, it was actually his email address. And they emailed, me, who is his employer, trying to get money. They will use emails and even very, very convincing. Like, I've received emails that absolutely 100% look like they're from a bank. They have the bank logo, they have a link, they have all of those things. They'll take you to a spoof website. It will look exactly like, we'll use US Bank, for instance. It'll look exactly like a US Bank website. They'll have duplicated it. They'll have downloaded the images. It'll be a slightly different domain. It will be like u.sbank, u.s.ba, or, they'll have all sorts of unique ways of getting these domains. And they're not trying to do this long term. They're just trying to set something up long enough to take as many people's money as possible. And they're not worried about breaking US law, because most of the times they're not in the United States. They're in other countries, and they're taking advantage of people outside their country because it's a lot easier to do and a lot harder to track them down. So be very cautious about what you click on in emails that you then go and change bank accounts, send large sums of money. I'm not saying you can't buy things through an email. Like, You get stuff from dream camps, from next generation gym owners, from Macy's, from whatever that is like, hey, take advantage of this sale. I'm not saying all of those are necessarily a scam, but pay attention to the websites that you're going to the links that you're clicking on. Pay attention to those things because they can be phishing expeditions to try and take advantage of you or gain access to your system. The next is product scams. Now, these are more and more common in the cheer industry. I see them on our Facebook groups. Someone is like getting rid of all of this really great brand new equipment and it's only $800. And I know gym owners who have been like, oh, that's amazing. You're close to me. I'll send you $800 to get an octagon and a T trainer and this and this and this and this and this. Look, y'all, if the deal feels too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. And you need to investigate further. And even then, like, I want to see this stuff. Don't send me a picture from, days, like FaceTime me. I want to see it. I want to feel it. I'm not sending you money until I verify that it's real. Especially when I'm buying from like third party people just posting, hey, just getting rid of all this equipment for super, super cheap. They are looking for people who are going to take advantage of that, jump on it, buy it, and then never get the product. So make sure that you're getting real, honest to goodness products. On top of that, there are some providers out there that I would even consider, and I'm not going to call anyone out because I'm not going to defame anyone, but be very cautious about what you're buying. When you are buying things for really, really cheap, it may not be to the quality you are expecting, right? You don't want a Temu spring floor, or you don't want Temu foam rolls. You want quality equipment. So yes, you're going to pay more, but I recommend buying from the quality providers, the people who have shown a track record of giving you great products or making great products. And there's more than a few out there, and you can shop around and you can look for deals or you can buy used. But like, I'm not saying there aren't other good up and coming companies out there, but I've also seen people who've gotten spring floors that within a couple months are broken. They're cracked because it wasn't actually Baltic birch, or they're really dead because they're too thick of boards. And so they gave you a 3/4 inch plywood on. So now you've got 1.5 inches of plywood. It's too thick. It's not going to bend the same way, or it's not Baltic birch, or they're bad springs. Like, there's a variety of ways that people can not deliver. And so you want to be really cautious about the products that you are buying. Number 4 are employment scams. I kind of mentioned this one, but they are people who will say they're going to do work for you and then not actually deliver that work, or demand extra payment or demand payment up front. Just be cautious of anything that demands a payment up front like that. That is not a reputable company. Then I just want to touch on general scams for life. Whenever anyone is calling you and they're saying that they are the government, they are the IRS, they are DHS, they are Customs and Border Patrol, they are the United States Post Office, like all of those things, and they're the police. They don't ask for money over the phone. They just don't. That's a scam. Oh, I should have mentioned this earlier. When you get that alert that's like, your account is going to be deleted on Facebook if you don't respond to this thing, you don't click this link, that's a scam. That's an absolute scam. I get like 10 of them a week. I've been getting them for 2 years. My Facebook hasn't been deleted. Like, those are all scams. Just ignore them immediately. Your card is about to be charged for an iPhone. Call this number. Scam. All of those things are scams. Oftentimes what they'll do is they'll try and get you on the phone. Then they'll try and gain access to your computer. They'll try to show you that you stole something or over purchased on something. They'll tack on a 0. Then they'll tell you that you messed up. They'll ask you to go get, anytime they're trying to get you to go get like gift cards or send them cash, like any of those things. Look, the government doesn't work in gift cards. So if you're talking to someone who's like, you need to send me money on Target gift cards, that's a scam. That's not true. Just be very, very cautious. Scamming is a multi-billion-dollar industry. You want to be cautious, be prudent, and take your time and make sure that the things that you're dealing with are actual legitimate things. And any legitimate bank or financial institution or government institution is going to understand. I will tell you, I was a police officer for 15 years. I never called anyone and said, hey, you have a warrant for your arrest, but just pay me over the phone. That's not how it works in any jurisdiction anywhere in the greater United States, Canada, and I'm pretty sure Australia too. Like you can't just like buy your way out of a warrant over the phone. Make sure that you are doing your due diligence. I hate to see hardworking individuals separated from their hard-earned money because these scammers don't care, and they don't care about the hardship that they're causing you and your families and your business. So stay safe, stay smart, stay vigilant. And with that, we will catch you on the next episode.